Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
thank you. Actually, it is wonderful to see all of you, all of the faces of our senior citizens, and with most of whom we get associated with them regularly, dealing with the different issues. And of course, this year has been a year of mixed bags. The year started off very well, but the COVID pandemic had made each of our plans. It toppled each of our plans, and even as an organization, actually, we have been having a very tough time. All our plans and all our proposed activities, we have to shift them, we have to postpone them, we have to implement various other new projects also. But I hope that as this year ends, 2021 will be a blessed and fruitful year for all of us. And during this pandemic period, actually, we wanted to connect all our stakeholders, whether it is our senior citizens or the elderly in our homes, our project partners, and everyone through Zoom to create more awareness on elderly issues as well as those issues that are directly concerning the elderly. And one of the major challenge for the elderly is their social security, or what you call it as a financial planning. In our experience in HelpAge India, we observe that the moment an elderly becomes a dependent, the family starts to neglect them. I'm not making a generalized statement, but this is generally if through our helpline or through many of the cases we see, most of the cases that come to us are most of the cases that is referred to the police or to the collector or to the social welfare department. If you look at it, it comes under two categories. Number one, majority of them are property disputes. Okay, and the number two is financial abuse of the elderly. So of course, there may be so many various reasons for that. But people who are the elderly senior citizens who have a problem, who don't have a regular source of income, are abused in the family, and it is very unfortunate that their own family members abuse them, and the affected person has very little to do with this. So so financial planning is one of the major emphasis that HelpAge India has, and this training session is basically focused on that. Of course, I know that most of the participants who are in this, who are joining today, have retired from a very good position, either from the government or in private sectors or in public undertakings, and you have a stable income even after retirement. So in one way, I call you as a blessed people. Okay, but this finance, you need to manage it in a very systematic manner, and with a lot of changes that is happening in our country with regard to the taxes, with regard to the income tax amendments that are happening. It is good that you are fully aware of the developments that are taking place around you. You may be watching the television, through the media, through the newspaper, through internet. You may be getting more information, but but getting the information directly from a person, okay, whose day-to-day work involves in income tax, it will be of immense help to you. So in this regard only, actually, I'm very happy to introduce to you Mr. Suresh Babu. Okay, so who's a inspector of income tax, and who was really consented. The moment we called him, he immediately said that he will join us, and he has given us time, and he's going to share his immense experience and the knowledge, because you'll be coming across so many cases with regard to income tax issues and the doubts that people have. So we welcome you, sir, from the bottom of our heart. Unfortunately, we cannot see you face to face, but thanks to the technology that we are able to see you. And so we thank you so much for accepting our invitation and consenting to be available for this 1.5 hour session. And so we really look forward to your valuable insights in sharing your experience and the various income tax rules and regulations that have come into effect in the recent times, and how senior citizens can avail the benefits that are available with the, through the income tax. Because even a saving of 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees for a senior citizen, especially who depends on a pension, will be of great help to them. So, because they do have a lot of expenditures, they do have a lot of commitments. So, definitely, I believe that this session will throw a lot of insights into the through your experience, and I'm sure the participants will really enjoy it. And I request the participants to please listen to what Mr. Suresh Babu is telling. And if you have any doubts, please reserve your doubts till the end of the session. And I believe that after about 45 minutes or 50 minutes, you will give sufficient time for you people to ask queries. You will be kind enough to respond in the best possible way. Thank you so much. Please enjoy your session. And once again, thank you to our guest, Mr. Suresh Babu. And we look forward for a meaningful session, sir. And I'm wishing all of you a blessed and a very, very nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your welcome address, sir. Sir, Mr. Suresh Babu, sir, please deliver your speech, sir. We are waiting for your speech, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this opportunity.
Sir, mute ஆயிருக்கு, sir. Sir, mute ஆயிருக்கு.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sir, thank you for having given me this opportunity to interact with all the senior citizens, sir. Very good morning to you all.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, to start with, I thought I'll start with the basics,
Okay.
like why income tax, what is income tax. I'll give a 5 or 10 minutes of briefing about income tax.
Excuse me, can
Sir,
you mute
sir,
everybody?
yes, sir.
There's disturbance.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Mute everybody.
Yeah. If all the other persons have muted themselves, then my voice will be very clear, sir. That's very true. Sir, I'll go through the basics of income tax first, and then we'll go on to specific issues regarding senior citizens. To start with, I have prepared a small PowerPoint presentation to make it more easier. I'll share my screen, sir. Sir, is it okay if I can speak in English, or you want me to speak in Tamil? Every one of us here knows Tamil, right? Or is there
Yes,
someone
sir,
who
yes.
doesn't know Tamil?
English is better.
Everybody,
Both language.
English is better.
English is better. Okay.
Yeah, English will do.
yeah.
Okay. English is fine with everyone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Maximum.
Yeah. Both languages,
Okay.
sir. Complete, sir.
Right, sir. Sir, basically, the government needs revenue to carry out all your infrastructure work, like laying of roads, providing you with the power supply, providing water, housing facilities, then again procurement of food and grain and supplying it to all the people. So basically, the government to run itself, it needs money, sir. Like how in a family, a father needs money to support all the other people. At macro level, the government also requires money, right, to maintain all these things in the country. So for which it collects revenue. Revenue is called it is supposed to be the income to the government. So revenue is collected in two ways, sir. One, it is called tax revenue. Another is called non-tax revenue. Non-tax revenue is where some kind of service is provided to the citizen, and then some amount is collected. For example, say railways. I have given examples here in the PowerPoint presentation. Railways, railway facility is given for which it charges some money, which becomes non-tax revenue to the government. Similarly, electricity supply is given. The government collects money, which becomes non-tax revenue. Whereas tax revenue is something where the government collects money without providing any services. Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Are you asking me something? Okay. Right. So that is the difference between tax revenue and non-tax revenue. While non-tax revenue, some kind of service is provided. Tax revenue is something for which no services are provided, but still the government collects money because it needs money to provide other services for the citizens. Right. So we are more concerned about tax revenue today. We are not going to discuss about non-tax revenue. I hope you would have had other sessions discussing about non-tax revenue and all that. So we will only be concentrating on tax revenue for the government today. Sir, in tax revenue, you have two types of taxes. One is direct taxes and one is indirect taxes. Indirect taxes, your customs, excise, GST, all these are called indirect taxes. Whereas income tax, personalized tax, income tax, corporation tax, which is again income tax levied on companies, gift tax, wealth tax, all these are called direct taxes. So direct taxes are called progressive taxes, whereas indirect taxes are called regressive taxes. What is the difference between regressive and progressive, sir? Sir, for example, say suppose you are going to go and buy a soap, right? Soap is required for every person, a soap or say any essential commodity. There is a GST levied on it, right? There is a GST levied on it. Say suppose the GST is 5%. This 5% is going to be the same across all category of people, whether a person is Dhirubhai Ambani or whether a person is a pauper. Everyone has to pay the same amount of 5% GST on that particular item, right? Okay, it is not like rich people will be paying more GST on purchase of soap and poor people will be paying less GST on purchasing of soap. It is the same across all category of people. Whereas if you take direct taxation, for example, income tax is one kind of taxation which taxes the rich a little more than the poor people. If you take a person who has only an income of 2,50,000, he is not going to pay any tax at all. Suppose a person has an income of say about 5 lakhs, he is going to pay about 5% of tax. A person whose income is about 10 lakhs, he is going to pay about 20% of tax. And a person whose income is more than 10 lakhs is going to pay 30% of tax. So your tax also increases as your income increases. Somehow the government feels that this is the right way of taxation, taxing rich people more than the poor people. Whereas indirect taxes is not like that. Indirect taxes all the people across all categories at the same rate. Like the example I gave you regarding soap. That is why direct tax is called a progressive tax, whereas indirect tax is called a regressive tax. I hope so much is clear, sir, the basics. Okay. Sir, when in the 1990s, it was originally the regressive taxes which was higher, GST, or earlier it was called sales tax, later it was called VAT, now it is called GST. Okay, it was about, when you take the total tax revenue, indirect taxes was about 80% in the 90s. Later on, 95 was when I joined income tax department. At that time, direct tax collection was about 30,000 crores, whereas indirect tax collection was 80,000 crores. More taxes were collected by way of indirect taxes than income tax, right, sir? Is it a correct method of collection? Indirect taxes where the poor and rich are taxed equally. Direct taxes is where the poor are taxed less and the rich are taxed higher. So which is better, sir? Should it be like this? Indirect taxes higher and direct taxes less? It should not be like that. That should be a direct taxes should be probably more and indirect taxes should be less, right? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm able to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So 95 when I joined, only about 27% was collected from direct taxes side, say income tax, whereas about 73% of the government revenue was from indirect taxation, which means the poor people were taxed more than the rich people. But slowly the government has been moving from regressive taxation to progressive taxation. Last year, the total direct taxes collection was about 54%, which has exceeded the indirect tax collection. and now the indirect taxes last year was only 46%. So slowly the government is moving from regressive taxation to progressive taxation, sir. If at any point of time, if you feel that why I should pay so much of income tax, you should understand these basics, sir. The government definitely needs revenue, and it has to collect revenue in one of these two modes only. There is no other option. It either has to be direct tax revenue or indirect tax revenue, and the government is going in the right step by not increasing the indirect taxes, by keeping the GST under control and increasing only the direct taxes. Right, sir? Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So you agree that the government is moving in the right step, right? So fast. So no one wants to agree that. Right, sir.
It requires a long debate, sir.
Pardon, sir?
It requires a long debate on the particular point.
Yes, of course, that is always there.
Direct way, it is to be debated in the long way.
It has to be debated. At least when you see that theoretically, where all these revenue is applied for is a secondary thing. But primarily, what the government is doing is a right thing, moving towards more of progressive taxation than regressive taxation. That part is very much clear. The government's basic idea is very much in consonance with what the citizens actually require. Right, sir? So with those basics, we'll move on to the next screen, sir. Sir, there are three things which people can do to reduce their income tax liabilities, sir. One, you can do tax planning, and there are two other technologies in taxation, which is tax avoidance and tax evasion, sir, which are not the right methods of reducing taxes. The government itself says that you can do a lot of tax planning. It has provided for many sections in the act through which you can save paying more of taxes. Right, sir? Now, what is tax planning? What is tax avoidance? And what is tax evasion? Sir, tax evasion is very simple. You don't show the income at all. Say, suppose you are getting an income of 10 lakhs. You're just not committing your income. Right. Okay. You're just not committing your income and you're not paying your taxes at all. So that becomes tax evasion, concealment of income. If it is salary income or if it is your pension income, tax is already been deducted by the bank or your employer. So like your income is being accounted for and taxes are being collected from a salaried employee. But generally, if you take business people, unless and until they themselves come forward and show their income, it is not possible for the department to check how much is their business income and how much taxes they have to pay. Okay. Now, in such a case, only voluntary compliance is the only way of we knowing that how much the business person has earned. When they don't show that, that becomes tax evasion, sir, which is not at all acceptable by the department. There are many steps taken to avoid this tax evasion. Penalty is being levied. There are prosecution procedures wherein a person can be put into jail also, just in case if he is going to conceal his income. So all that is there. That is about tax evasion. So tax avoidance is making use of some loopholes in the law. Legally, what he is doing may be correct. As per Act, what he is doing may be correct. But actually, morally, what he is doing will be wrong. That is tax avoidance, sir. I have some technical examples, but that may be too technical for you, sir. You just understand that in paper, they would have brought out some kind of sections wherein it would benefit a certain kind category of people. So some miscreants would have misused those sections or those part of the act to save taxes, which is called tax avoidance. When you take it to the court, probably unless and until you prove with evidence, you may not be able to collect revenue from them. Those are ways of tax avoidance. So tax planning is very simple. The government itself gives you certain facilities to reduce your tax. For example, your Chapter 60 deduction, which includes payment towards LIC, Provident Fund, investment in units of mutual fund, then your house building advance repayment or whatever. All these are called tax planning methods. Say, suppose you invest in LIC or medical insurance, you get a deduction from the income to that extent. To that extent, you do not pay taxes at all. Okay. These are ways of tax planning, sir. So as far as you are all concerned, you can do tax planning, tax avoidance. No, you cannot do tax evasion. Not at all. You can definitely not do that. So we'll be speaking more about tax planning today. I'll tell you what are the benefits given by the department for you to reduce the taxes. Right, sir? Shall we move on, sir? So far, so clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts to be clarified, sir?
No, you can proceed further.
Yeah.
Sir, one session over, we will do to the panel discussion, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll go to the panel discussion. I'll finish some basics, some way of reducing. What are the benefits you have been given?
Yeah,
I'll tell you all that. Then we'll go to the panel discussion.
Yeah.
You can ask me whatever questions you want. I can
Yes,
help you out.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, Mr. Arumugam, sir. Are you also recording this video?
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, fine, right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Sir, basically, you know what is income, right, sir? Any receipts you get becomes income, irrespective of whether it is pension or say, suppose you are deposited some money in the bank, you are getting interest out of that deposit, that also becomes income. You are doing some trading work, you are buying something and selling it at a profit, that also becomes income. You have a property which you are selling, whatever you get also becomes income. So all these receipts, okay, all these profits become income, sir. And as far as income tax is concerned, income has been divided into 5 broad categories, sir. Why it has been divided into 5 broad categories? These 5 categories are called different heads of income. Sir, each head has a certain group of income belonging to the same category. Like salaries becomes one head of income, where an employer pays an employee some amount of money, which becomes salary income. There is another head called house property head. House property head is where you are receiving rental income. That becomes house property income. There is another head which is called profits and gains from business or profession. Then there is one more head which is called capital gains. Capital gains in the sense you have a capital asset. You have a house property which actually is a capital asset. When you sell the house property, you get to make some profit. Say suppose you had bought a house property for about 10 lakhs about 15 years back, and today you are selling it for about 1 crore. The difference between this 1 crore and that 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs becomes your profit or capital gain, on which also you have to pay taxes. So that is one category of income. Any income which does not fall under these 4 broad categories, your salary, house property, business or capital gain, if it does not fall under any of these 4 heads, it becomes income from other sources. Basically, each category of income is being given a different kind of deduction, sir. That is why it is grouped into one category. House property has a different kind of deduction. Business income has a different kind of deduction. Your capital gain has a different kind of deduction. So that is why such incomes are grouped into different categories of it. That is some basics technical which may not be required for you, but still you should be aware of all this, so that if you have a house property income, you should know that you have to declare it as income from house property, right, sir? That was only for awareness sake. Right, now coming to senior citizens, sir, there is a exemption, primary exemption provided in the income itself. Sir, while for all other people, the non-taxable limit means up to so much income, you need not pay any tax at all. As far as all others are concerned, up to 2.5 lakhs, you need not pay any tax at all. This is for the general public. So all other people. When you take the category of senior citizens in the sense, any person who has crossed the age of 60 years. So for such people, the non-taxable limit is 3 lakhs, sir. Up to 3 lakhs, that person need not pay any taxes at all if his income is up to 3 lakhs. Income tax department has been very kind enough. They have brought in another category called super senior citizen, which means a person who is of the age 80 or above. Okay, see, these people are called super senior citizens, and the exemption limit for such people is 5 lakhs. Up to 5 lakhs, they need not pay any taxes at all. So these are
What are the age you said, sir? For super citizen. Hello?
super senior citizens
super
who are 80
citizen, what
years
is
and
it?
above, sir. 80.
80.
Yeah. A senior citizen is 60 and above, super senior citizen is 80 and above. Now, when does this person have to attain this age, sir? At any time during a financial year. Sir, the current financial year is 2021, which means first April 2022, 31/3/2021. This is one financial year. At any point of time, any time during this year, if the person attains the age of 60, he is eligible to claim that he is a super senior citizen for this current financial year. Okay, during any part of the year, you should have attained that age, sir. So for super senior citizens, no tax up to 5 lakhs. Senior citizens, no tax up to 3 lakhs. And for all other category of people, it is 2.5 lakhs. This is the primary benefit available for senior citizens and super senior citizens. Sir, again, even in this category also, say suppose there is a senior citizen whose income is 4 lakhs. Okay, now he is liable to pay taxes because up to 3 lakhs there is no tax at all. But whereas from 3 lakhs to 4 lakhs, there is a 1 lakh taxable income on which there is a tax of 5%, sir. 5%, which amounts to ₹5,000 rupees. But still, if the person's income is only up to 5 lakhs, even for a senior citizen, he gets a rebate of his tax worked out to 5,000 rupees. He gets a rebate of 5,000 rupees. Right, sir? It's kind of tricky. I'll just show you with an example. Say suppose there is a person whose income is 4,50,000. Right, sir? There is a person whose income, forget about super senior citizen, sir. Super senior citizen up to 5 lakhs, no tax at all, no issues, nothing to worry. For senior citizens, say suppose the person's income is 4,50,000. He is taxable to the extent of up to 3 lakhs. No tax. Right, sir? Balance 1,50,000. Up to 3 lakhs, there is no tax. For the balance 1.5 lakhs, there is a tax of 5%, which is 7,500. So the total tax works out to 7,500. Right, sir? Now, if the person's income is less than 5 lakhs, the senior citizen income is less than 5 lakhs. Whenever that person's income is less than 5 lakhs, he can avail a rebate under section 87A to the extent of the entire taxes. Right, sir? So the net tax becomes 0. If his income is still under 4.5 lakhs, the entire tax amount is given as a rebate under section 87A and he need not pay any taxes at all, sir, as long as his income is less than 4.5 lakhs. But if it is income is, say, suppose 6 lakhs, then they do not get this exemption, sir. Up to 3 lakhs, there is no tax at all. Then for the balance.
Sir, you said.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you said 4.5 lakhs.
Yes, sir.
You said 4.5. Suppose it's 4 lakhs 6,000, 60,000.
60,000 also, sir. Again, for 4 lakhs 60,000 up to 5 lakhs.
Oh, thank you.
Even if the income is, say, about 5 lakhs, the income is 5 lakhs, up to 3 lakhs, there is no tax. Balance 2.5 lakhs, there is a tax of 6,500. No, 12,500. 5%, right?
I think 10,000 also.
Yeah. Okay, 12,500, right? For the balance 2.5 lakhs. So this again is not 7,500.
More.
Okay, right, fine. So 12,500. So the total tax becomes 12,500. And 87A rebate, because his income is only 5 lakhs, it has not exceeded 5 lakhs, the entire amount becomes.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You calculate from 2,50,000 or 3 lakhs. From 3 lakhs, you are going to calculate.
From 3 lakhs, sir. So it is only 10,000.
Yeah, that's what my query. Okay, good.
Okay, it is only 10,000. In the case of a senior citizen, right, sir? If it was a general category employee, it would have been 12,500. Even a general employee gets this rebate, 87A rebate, as long as his income is less than 5 lakhs. But whereas if his income is going to exceed 5 lakhs and it becomes 6 lakhs, then up to 3 lakhs it is nil. For 3 lakhs to 5 lakhs, it is 5%, which means 10,000. And for the remaining 1 lakh, it is 20,000 rupees. Okay, so the total tax works out to up to 3L. There is no tax. 3 to 5. 3 to 5 lakhs is 10,000. For more than 5 lakhs, it is 20,000. Therefore, total tax will be 30,000.
Is it 20%? Is it 20% after 5 lakhs?
Yes, sir. 20%.
But standard deduction is not available.
Yeah, that is available, sir. I am showing it after standard deduction. This is an income after standard deduction, sir. The net income, the income on which tax is payable. Standard deduction of 50,000 is definitely available, sir. This 4.5 lakhs is after standard deduction.
Sir, which is the standard deduction? Standard deduction.
Standard deduction is 50,000 for pensioners, sir.
No, sir, that is the insurance and all what we pay, is it?
No. I'll come to that. I'll actually come to that, sir. 1 second. You just have this basic understanding about this 87A, sir. Sorry, not 57A. It is 87A. Is it clear? 87A. If the income exceeds 5 lakhs, you do not get the benefit of 87A. 87A becomes 0. Therefore, the net tax will be 30,000 only. Right, sir? So this is one basic benefit for all the other people also. But when super senior citizens are concerned, the entire 5 lakhs is exempt. No question of 87A rebate. And when senior citizens are concerned, though their income is more than 3 lakhs, still they need not pay tax up to an income of 5 lakhs. Right, sir? Okay.
One more doubt, sir. One more doubt.
Yes, sir.
Is 4.5 lakhs, 5 lakhs, and 6 lakhs that you have indicated is after all deductions or only standard deduction?
No, after all deductions, and I'll show you some basics.
It's taxable income.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll tell you some basics. Like you have income from salary, right, sir?
Okay.
Income from salary is certain amount on which you are allowed a deduction.
Yes.
50,000. Okay. Once that is deducted, you get the net salary income, which is some certain amount, sir. Okay. From this, you have to add your income from house property, which means your rental income. Right, sir? And from this, if you have any business running, PGBP, profits and gains from business or profession, that also you need to add here. And again, if you have some capital gains, capital gains in the sense, any property, you have a property which you have sold. So there is some income. Apart from this, you have income from other sources. Other sources includes your interest income, FD interest or SB interest. Okay. So all this put together becomes the gross total income. Right, sir? All this put together becomes your gross total income. From this gross total income, you have something called deductions.
A small clarification, please.
Yes, sir.
If I have an ancestral property,
Yes, sir.
if I sell it, how can I get capital gains? How can I get capital gains? How you will calculate the capital gains?
Yes, sir. We'll come to that, sir. I'll come to that property thing. It is a detailed chapter, but still I'll explain you about the basics and we'll try to clarify some of your doubts also, sir. And before that, we'll finish this chapter 6A deductions. Sir, here you have your deduction under section 80C. Sir, which includes your provident fund investment or LIC investment, any investments you have made towards mutual funds, units of mutual funds, units of equity shares, or your life insurance corporation, or NSC, National Savings Certificates. All these deductions fall under this category, sir, ATC, and the maximum amount allowed as deduction here is 1,50,000. Right, sir? Then you have deduction under.
That is a premium paid, is it?
Not the LIC. If it is Life Insurance Corporation, the premium paid. Yes, sir. Exactly.
Sir, is it for sons and grandchildren also? Can I pay for my grandchildren?
No,
Will it
you
be
cannot
exempt?
pay for your grandchildren, sir. It can be only for self, spouse, and children.
Okay. Children, even if they're at 25, 30 also? No age
if they are
limit,
earning
right?
member, you cannot pay for them, sir. If they are dependent on you, you can pay. As long as they are not working anywhere,
Okay.
you can pay for them. Once they start working, probably it will not be advisable for you to claim also. Once they start earning, they would want to claim it in their against their income, right?
Yes.
And the act also does not allow, sir.
So
So
that's
as
only
long
in the
as they are
maturity.
dependent, you can claim it.
Sir, that is only in the maturity, isn't it?
Not the maturity, the investment. Maturity is actually fully exempt, sir. When you are in this year, you are getting a pension of say about 10 lakhs, out of which you have paid 1 lakh as premium towards some policy you have taken. That 1 lakh
Okay.
will be allowed as a deduction. Balance 9 lakhs becomes your total taxable income.
Okay, okay.
That is while paying payment of premium. On maturity, say you have taken a policy for about 20 years. At the end of 20 years, you are getting back the maturity money. One, you will get the money you have invested. Second, you will get an added bonus along with that. Both these amounts put together is exempt from taxation, sir. It is not taxable. There is a section called 1010D. Under that section, if any maturity amount is received, that becomes non-taxable. Right, sir? Provided
Sir,
it
it
is
is-
from LIC.
But private insurance?
Private insurance, you have to go through the documents, sir. It depends on the policy they have actually introduced. So there are certain policies like single insurance policy where you need to pay only insurance premium once, and it is annual insurance. So there are some certain kind of policies on which this 1010D is not applicable. But most of the life insurance policies, 1010D is applicable, sir. Even if in case if it is a Kotak Mahindra policy or ICICI life insurance policy, 1010D is applicable. But you have to go through the document once, sir. Only then we can confirm it. So it will be mentioned on your policy certificate whether the premium is given this exemption benefit. And in the policy document itself, it would have been mentioned whether 1010D exemption is applicable on maturity amount. You have to go through it, or you have to check with your insurance agent before investing into that particular policy, sir. Regarding
Sir,
the
if it is pre-closure, sir, suppose a policy is pre-closed, are we taxable?
No, that also are policy specific, sir. We do not have any general rules for it. It is policy specific.
Okay.
You have to check with your insurance agent whether that kind of policy has been given this benefit.
Okay.
Okay, right, sir.
Okay.
And these conditions will definitely be mentioned, should have been mentioned in the policy document. Okay, the applicability of ATC deduction and the applicability of 1010D deduction. ATC deduction on premium. On maturity, sir, these two deductions should have been mentioned on the policy document, sir. You have to check with the insurance agent before you are investing into the policy, whether ATC deduction is available on premium, whether 1010D deduction is available on maturity. You have to check these two things and then invest in that kind of a policy. Only then it will be beneficial, or otherwise you will be losing a lot of money. Right, sir? So I'll be sharing this Excel sheet also with you for your information.
Sir, for house, I'm sorry, rental income you get, there is some standard deduction, sir.
Yes, sir. We'll come back to the rental income also, sir. We'll finish off with this.
Okay.
Okay. Sir, again, I was telling you about your gross total income. So far, is it clear, sir? The gross total income, involves all these amounts. You have to add up all the taxable incomes. Then 80D deduction is available on medical insurance. Again, you have deduction under 80DD A for certain kind of diseases. Expenditure incurred towards certain kind of diseases. You have deduction under
Any limit for deduction under 80D or 80DDA?
Yes, sir. I'll come back to that, sir. Sir, as far as ATC is concerned, towards investment into mutual funds or LIC or National Savings Certificate or your Provident, Public Provident, PPF or whatever, there is a maximum limit of 1.5 lakhs. So that is all you can claim, sir. Your investment, although even if it is 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs, the maximum deduction you can claim from income. Say, suppose your income is 7.5 lakhs and you have invested about 6 lakhs in insurance, but still you can claim only 1.5 lakhs.
Excuse me, sir. I think in this list, bank deposit for a period of 5 years also is included.
Yes, sir. That is also included. There are certain tax saving deposits being provided by banks. Sir. That also is included under the ATC, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Medical insurance.
So that is about ATC, sir. Medical insurance, I'll come back. I have it in the PowerPoint presentation. There are some details in it. And sir, 80TDB. 80TDB is one deduction available against interest income, sir. Say suppose you have made a deposit, a fixed deposit of certain amount. Whatever interest you are getting from that is taxable. So let us assume that you have invested about 10 lakhs in a bank and you are getting FD interest of 1 lakh at 10% per annum. Okay, 1 lakh they are not, definitely they are not going to give, but still for academic purposes, let us assume you are getting an interest at the rate of 10%, which is 1 lakh. Up to 50,000 is exempt from taxation under section 80TTB. Only the balance amount of 50,000 becomes taxable, sir. This 80TTB deduction of 50,000 includes interest on SB account also, savings bank account also. Right, sir? This benefit is available only for senior citizens. For all other taxable, all other taxpayers, whatever interest is received from fixed deposits or term deposit, it's fully taxable, sir. Take my case, if I have deposited 10 lakhs, I'm getting an interest of 1 lakh. The entire amount of 1 lakh becomes taxable. I'm already in the 30% slab. I'll be paying about 30,000 rupees as tax on that 1 lakh. Whereas if you are a senior citizen, you have deduction of up to 50,000 rupees. You are going to pay taxes only on the balance 50,000 rupees, sir. Right, sir? This TTB is available only for senior citizens, sir. So once all these deductions are over, then you get your taxable income. Sir, after deducting all these deductions, whatever you get is taxable income. So this taxable income is what I am talking about when I am saying 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs or 2.5 lakhs. Right, sir? Is it clear? This taxable income, if it is more than 5 lakhs, then it becomes taxable for super senior citizens. Otherwise, if this taxable income, after all these deductions, if it is going to be less than 5 lakhs, there is no tax payable at all. For senior citizens, if this taxable income is up to 3 lakhs, there is no tax to be paid at all. Is it clear, sir? Which income to be taken into account?
Sir, BGBP. What is BGBP?
PGBP is profits and gains from business or profession.
Okay, thank you.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me? You have not explained about the DDA.
DDA will go back to the PowerPoint presentations. I have not explained about 80D also. So both will go back to the PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you for explaining 87. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So this part, income exemption limit, I hope you are clear about it. So the exemption from filing of return. Sir, every person whose income is going to exceed that non-taxable limit of 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs has to definitely file a return, sir. If your income is going to be more than 3 lakhs or more than 5 lakhs for senior citizen or super senior citizen, you have to file a return. And again, the income tax department follows a concept called payee, P-A-Y-E, which means pay as you earn. Pay as you earn, right, sir? What does it mean? You cannot wait for the financial year to end and then pay the taxes. It is not allowed by the department. The department says, as you are earning your income, you immediately pay taxes, which is why the department is collecting something called as advance taxes. Advance tax means you have to pay during that financial year itself. By the end of 31st March of a particular financial year, you are expected to get all your taxes paid, sir. Right? Now, this payment of advance tax is compulsory to all people except for senior citizens. If you are a senior citizen and you need not pay any advance tax, sir. While for all other people, it is a requirement that they pay advance tax and finish off their tax liability within the year. For senior citizens, they need not pay the advance tax at all. They can pay the taxes even after completion of the financial year before filing of return. Again, for filing of return, the last date is 31st July. It is enough if you have paid the taxes before 31st of July. Whereas for all other people, the taxes should have been paid before 31st March. And not only 31st March, they should pay as they earn. If they are going to pay only on 31st March, again, they will have to pay certain amount of money as interest also. If they are not going to pay it on a quarterly basis, they will be paying some interest also. Whereas for senior citizens, there is no requirement of paying advance taxes. They can pay the taxes before filing of return, which is on 31st of July. Right, sir?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I am working for British Council on a contractual basis.
Okay.
And my tax is deducted at source at the time of payment. And I am told to file an income tax return to claim the tax back. Can I request them saying that since I'm a senior citizen, not to deduct tax at source?
Yeah, definitely, sir. If you are, is it salary income what you are getting from?
No, it's a contractual basis job. As and when they ask us to do certain activity, they pay at the end of the next month and they deduct tax at source.
Okay. Now, so, sir, this is something like a professional income.
Yes.
Okay. As far as professional income is concerned, there is certain limits, sir. Like there is a separate, the person who is making you the payment, he is expected to deduct taxes and then remit the payment. Now, what you can do is, we have a separate ward in our office called as the TDS ward.
Okay.
You can file an application there in the TDS ward showing your previous year's return, the last 3 years return.
I see.
In the last 3 years return, if there was no tax liability,
yes,
and you also have to give an estimate for the current year's return.
Okay.
Saying that my income is going to be only about 3 lakhs, so I will not be coming under the taxable limit at all. So kindly give a certificate saying that no tax has to be deducted. The department will check all the previous 3 years returns and also the current year's estimate. Then they will say that until the payment of amount of up to the payment of amount of 3 lakhs, no tax need to be deducted for this employee. They'll give a not employee, for this person. Okay. They'll give a certificate. That certificate you can hand it over to your contractor, saying that, sir, I have taken a certificate from the department. So up to 3 lakhs, you need not deduct any taxes at all.
Thank you so
much. Based
much.
on the certificate, they can stop paying, stop deducting taxes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Right, sir. Sir, again, this exemption from payment of advance tax is applicable only if the income you are receiving is either salary, house property, and other source income. If you are going to have some business income by way of some trade or some professional income, then this is not applicable, sir. Even though you are a senior citizen, if you are getting some business income, you should definitely pay advance taxes. If your income does not contain income from business or profession, then you will not pay this advance taxes. Otherwise, you are liable to pay the advance tax. Right, sir? Is it clear?
Clear, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anyone in this group who is also getting a professional income other than the person who I spoke to now? business or professional income? Okay, I'll take that as a
Sir,
no.
no,
Right,
this
sir.
advance, sir, this advance tax,
Yes, sir.
we should pay after the 3 months or before the 3 months itself?
No,
Suppose.
at the end of every quarter, sir.
Okay, okay.
The first due falls on June 15th, and the second due falls on June, July, August, September 15, December 15, and March 15. There are 4 installments, sir. You have to pay
End of the quarter.
end of the quarter. Yes, sir.
Okay,
At the
thank
end of the first quarter, you should have paid for 15%. Second quarter, 45%. At the end of third quarter, 75%. And by 15th March, the entire amount of taxes should have been paid.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and this is not applicable for senior citizens. That much should be clear. Right, sir.
Capital gains comes under PGPP.
Sir, I'm not getting you. Capital gains?
Capital gains comes under PGPP.
No, no, no.
PGPP.
No, sir. Sir, BGBP is a separate head. It concerns only with your
Business.
regular business activity. Capital gain is not like you are not on a daily basis. You are not selling properties. Okay, that is only a one-time thing, one-time sale. So that is capital gains. You are selling your land or you are selling a house property. It is only one-time sale. It is not a daily activity, so it does not become business. Business is where there is a daily trading. Every day you buy, every day you sell something. That becomes business.
Mutual fund redemption.
Pardon, sir?
Mutual fund redemption.
Mutual fund redemption is also capital gain, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Right, sir.
Hello.
Now, sir, I have already spoken about this 80 TTB.
Sir,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There is a filing regarding filing of income tax return. What's the criteria for the returns? This is taxable income or gross income?
Sir, gross income, sir. For
You are
filing of
mentioning that
return.
you have to file the return.
Yes,
It's
sir.
a gross income. You have to take the.
Yes, sir. Sir, for filing of returns. Sir, for filing of return, you have to take this income, sir.
Yes, I am asking for the filing of.
Yeah, this income has to be
It's
taken
a
into
gross
account,
income
not
or
the
a taxable?
income after deductions, because the department will not know how much deductions you have claimed.
So it is gross income.
It is on the gross income. If your gross income is less than 2.5 lakhs or 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs, based on the category, you need not file a return. Not after deductions, before deductions.
Okay, sir. One more doubt.
Yes, sir.
My son and daughter, along with the daughter, purchased a plot.
Yes, sir.
Along with my son, along with my daughter. Both are property owners of the property. They applied for a housing loan. And how can they claim the exemption, sir?
They have purchased a property.
Property.
Okay, purchase is not an income, sir. It is an expenditure.
Expenditure, but they are claiming they have availed a loan, sir, in a housing loan.
Okay, they have availed a loan. They have availed a loan, sir. Now, as far as purchase is concerned, it is only an expenditure. It is not an income. When you are selling a property, that is when capital gains comes into applicability. You have to pay taxes. Whereas when you are buying a property, you are not getting any income, right? Now, suppose you have bought a property and you are letting it out on rent. Okay. Now, when you are letting it out, you are getting from some income from house properties here. Now, against this income from house property, you can claim certain deductions. Okay. Now, you are not letting it out. You are only self-occupying it. Then also you can claim certain deductions. Like as our friend had said, he has taken a loan and purchased the property, sir. Now, this person is going to repay both principal amount against the loan, interest amount also against this loan. The principal amount can be claimed as a deduction under section 80C. I told you 80C, there is a maximum of 1.5 lakhs deduction applicable. Any principal repaid can be shown as deduction under the 80C, sir. And the interest repayment will be allowed as a deduction under income from house property. Sir, as far as income from house property is concerned,
it is up to 2 lakhs we can claim.
Yes, sir.
Now, my doubt is, they are, my daughter as well as my son, they are both applied the loan. They got the loan. Now they are repaying the EMI. how will they share that income tax exemptions? That is
Yes, sir. I'll tell you, sir. Sir, income, as far as income from house property is concerned, your rent received becomes something called as gross annual value. The rent received becomes gross annual value, sir. From this rent received, you can deduct any municipal taxes paid. Okay. And once you deduct the municipal taxes, the net amount becomes net annual value.
But my doubt is, sir.
Yeah, I'll come back to your doubt, sir. 1 second. I'll just come back to your doubt. Sir, from this, because someone else asked about this also. From this, you have two deductions, sir. Deductions under section 24A, which is 30%. And you have okay. So these are the, as far as house property income is concerned, these are the two deductions available, sir. One, there is a standard deduction. Someone was asking about standard deduction against house property. Sir, whatever is the net annual value, 30% of that amount becomes standard deduction, irrespective of whether you have incurred expenditure towards repair, maintenance, fire insurance premium, whatever. All for all those expenditure put together, a 30% standard deduction is allowed, sir. You have not spent any money at all during the year towards repair and maintenance. Still, this 30% deduction is allowed. It is a standard deduction. Second one is any interest repaid on loan taken is also allowed as a deduction, sir. Okay, and this is this amount is restricted to 2 lakhs.
2 lakhs. Yes, sir. My doubt is.
1 second, sir. I am coming to that. Restricted to 2 lakhs if it is a self-occupied property. If the
house.
Sir, if the property is not self-occupied, it has been let out and you are getting rent out of it, there is no limit on this interest. Even if you are going to claim, you are going to repay about 50 lakhs as interest on loan borrowed, you can claim that as a deduction. That is allowed, sir. You are getting a rental income of 60 lakhs and the interest paid is about 50 lakhs. You can claim the entire 50 lakhs as deduction. Only the balance 10 lakh becomes income from house property. That is one part. The second part is your query, sir. Both of them have together taken the loan. Both of them are together repaying the loan. It depends on the ownership, sir. If both are owner, for the ownership, the document is the title deed. In the title deed, if it says that both are 50% owners, or if it does not say that they are 50% owners, it says both are owners. If it does not say anything, it means they are equal owners. In such a case, both can claim interest, sir. And both can claim 2 lakhs. Though the restriction is 2 lakhs, if two people are going to repay the loan, both are co-owners of the property, each of them can claim 2 lakhs as deduction. Right, sir?
2 lakhs. If I am paying 5 lakhs as interest, I can claim 2 lakhs. 2 lakhs.
2 lakhs, 2 lakhs. That's 1 lakh you have to forego, sir, because
Yes,
there is a restriction. Whereas if it is a rented property and they are getting rent, they are getting rent of 10 lakhs. The 10 lakhs has to be split among both the people. 5 lakhs in your son's name, 5 lakhs in your daughter's name, and both will be allowed the deduction of 2.5 lakhs and 2.5 lakhs. Because it is a let-out property, there is no limit of 2 lakhs. They can claim whatever amount is the interest.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right, sir. So that is about your house property, sir. So this one I have already told you about ATTTB. Gentlemen, someone else's mic is also unmuted. Kindly mute your mics. Yeah. Sir, ATD is medical insurance premium paid. Sir, Mr. Dhyaneshwar, your mic is unmuted, sir. Kindly mute your mic. Yeah. Sir, 80.
I'm unmuted, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, 80D deals with medical insurance premium.
Now that my question is,
Ah.
okay. My question is, can I
Yes, sir.
ask?
Definitely you can ask.
Can I
Yes, sir.
ask?
Yes, sir.
See, you are fixing some 50,000 rupees for that 80D, okay?
Yes, sir.
In the insurance company, you are, and insurance company pays me only 25,000 rupees for my operation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. The rest of the 25,000 I am paying from my
Yes, sir.
packet. How can I claim this one? How can I claim this one?
Okay. Sir, let me finish off
You're
this
able to follow me?
deduction part first, sir. Sir, as far as medical insurance premium is concerned, for individuals it is 25,000, sir. If any other insurance is also being paid for parents also, and the parents are not senior citizens, then they can claim another 25,000, provided they are paying that amount towards insurance. So for general regular people, it is only 50,000, sir. The maximum is only 50,000. Now they have the individual has paid 25,000 and the parents are above age of 60 years. Parents are senior citizens. Then they can claim the enhanced premium deduction of 50,000 rupees. Total becomes 75,000. Now the individual who is paying towards insurance himself is a senior citizen. So he can claim 50,000 as deduction under 80D for any medical insurance premium paid. And the parents definitely they will also be senior citizens. So he can claim deduction of another 50,000. So the maximum deduction that can be claimed under 80D will be 1 lakh, sir. If everyone is a senior citizen, right? This is clear. Sir, now regarding that excess payment of amount, you do not have an option of claiming that, sir. Whatever is covered by the insurance, that amount will be allowed as a deduction, sir. Whereas any amount spent from your pocket cannot be claimed as a deduction for any general category of diseases. If there are any specified diseases, like I'll show you this thing, 80DDB. Right, sir. There is a section called 80DDB where a deduction of 1 lakh is allowed for senior citizens who has incurred expenditure on treatment of self or dependent for specified diseases. Such specified diseases include something like cancer, AIDS, Parkinson's, dementia, thalassemia. But all these diseases, if you go to Google and ask for all these diseases, specified diseases list, it will show you all these specified diseases. Only for these category of diseases, this 1 lakh deduction is available for senior citizens. For regular treatment, there is no deduction applicable, sir. If you are paying it out of your pocket, it is only out of your savings, sir. Income tax department does not give you any deduction. Right, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Only on your tax paid income, you have to incur such expenditure. No other deduction is applicable.
Hello,
Sir.
hello, hello.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain 80 TTB?
80 TTB is deduction against the interest on fixed deposits, sir. Your
That is given
deposit
some up to 50,000. And something you given, you written there, extra.
Sir, up to 50,000 it is exempt, sir, on term deposit and SB interest. 194A is TDS applicability, sir. Generally, banks, if you are going to get interest of more than 10,000, they will start deducting TDS.
Oh, TDS.
Okay, 10% they will deduct TDS. Balance amount only they will give you. But whereas if you are a senior citizen, they have been given clear instructions that up to 50,000 rupees, you are not supposed to deduct TDS. Only for any interest in excess of 50,000, they will start deducting tax, sir. Otherwise, they will not deduct tax.
Sir, suppose I have in various banks.
Thank you.
Yes,
Hello?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Only in one bank means they deduct 50,000.
Yes, sir.
Suppose I have in various banks.
Yes, sir.
Can I give the TDS certificate not to deduct?
No, you are not supposed to give, sir. Sir, this is one issue faced by several senior citizens, sir. When you go to the bank and deposit, they will immediately ask you to give a 15G for not deducting taxes. Sir, it is the individual's responsibility. Say, suppose if you are already having an income of 5 lakhs from some other source, you are having a business, you are getting 5 lakhs from that. Apart from that, you are depositing some 1 lakh and your interest is going to be only 10,000. Still, you should not give 15G certificate, sir. 15G is one form which says that my income is below the taxable limit. Kindly do not deduct tax. Right, sir? That is a request you will give to the bank. You are not supposed to give. It is not correct, sir. Because your income from other sources, all incomes will be clubbed together. And if that income is going to be more than taxable, non-taxable limit, then you are liable to pay tax on that interest income also. So you are not supposed to give 15G. Say suppose you are having interest income only from one bank and it is going to be less than 2.5 lakhs, then you can give that 15G. Less than 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs, then you can give that 15G, sir. Otherwise, you should not give 15G.
Oh, the total income will have only 5 lakhs. It may not exceed. So what is wrong in giving this 15G?
If it is less than 5 lakhs, you can definitely give that form, sir. You can say my income for this year will be less than 5 lakhs. Sir. I will not be coming under taxable slab at all. So please do not deduct interest from my fixed deposit interest. You can give a request in form 15G.
Sir, what about suppose we give a private lender? He may give 10 or 15%. But that doesn't matter, no?
No, that also you are supposed to show, sir. That also becomes interest income.
No. There's no separate tax. No, that will be like income what we have received.
Yes, sir.
There's no special tax on that, no? More tax or something.
No more tax. It will be the same amount. The tax is always the same thing, sir. Up to 5 lakhs, it is 5%. 5 to 10 lakhs, it is 20%. More than 10 lakhs, it is 30%. Irrespective of whether it is from a private individual borrower or from a bank.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right. What about 15H?
And sir, 15G is given by senior citizens. 15H is given by regular other people, sir.
Oh, sir. Thank you.
Sir, non-compliance filing of returns. Sir, for senior citizens, there is a provision where if it is less than 5 lakhs and if you do not have business income, you need not file a return. And again, if it is if there is no business income, you have the provision of filing a paper return, sir. But all said and done, if you come to the department or if you have some friend, you can always give it to them. Online filing is better, sir, because the data is available always on the system. Anytime you can go back and refer. Filing of paper returns, though that provision is there, it is not advisable, sir. You can always file an online return. That is there. And any person who does not pay taxes correctly or who does not file return, there is a provision for levying of interest, penalty, and prosecution is also there, sir. This is not applicable for your returns. We are not accepting any documents, sir. Online filing, whatever you have filed, whatever income you are reporting in the return, only that is taken into account by the department. We are not accepting any proof in support of that. Whereas,
what about accrued interest in the banks?
Pardon? 1 second, sir.
Whatever
return you are filing, we are accepting that. We are not going into details. You are expected to sign a declaration. There is something called e-verification, wherein you will state that I declare whatever I have shown above is true to the best of my knowledge. So accepting that declaration, we are processing the return. But say about 2 or 3% of the returns will be taken up for something called scrutiny, where we'll be verifying all the details completely. And then if there is any issue, then we will take them to task, sir. That is called scrutiny. Apart from scrutiny, there are other provisions, search and survey also.
In the bank, they give accrued interest.
Yes, sir, accrued interest. Sir, interest is taxable on accrual basis, not on payment basis. Suppose you have made a deposit for 5 years. 5 years, okay. You are not going to get back the interest amount every year. It is going to come back to your account only after 5 years. But the bank will compute the interest on accrual basis every quarter or annually. It depends on the bank. Either annually or every quarter, they will be computing the interest. They will show it in paper and include it in your income. Whereas it will not be deposited into your bank account. Okay, that is accrual basis, sir. Sir, all these have been computerized now. There is something called Form 26AS. If some interest has been shown on accrual basis, that will be reflected in your Form 26AS. You need not bother about how it is to be computed, how much you have to show as accrual interest. You need not be bothered about that, sir. The banks are taking care of it. And whatever is the accrued interest, that will be shown in 26AS. It is better that you go by your 26AS and declare whatever interest income is reported in that 26AS form.
Paid as well as accrued, we have to add it together and show it.
Yes, sir. You have to show it as accrued interest.
Accrued as well as paid interest. Both the things
Yes,
we have
paid
to add
interest
together
also,
and
paid interest also. But you make sure when you are showing it like that, you make sure that that interest has not been shown earlier and taxes paid. So every year, suppose, sir, this year you are showing accrued interest. Next year you are showing accrued interest. For the 5 years you will be showing accrued interest. At the end of 5th year, the entire interest amount will be paid into your account. Now you need not pay interest for the entire amount. Because you have already paid. For 4 installments, you have already paid during the respective year on accrual basis.
That you have to
On
deduct
this
them.
basis, you have to pay interest tax only on that particular year's interest.
Oh, right.
Okay, so that is why I am telling you to go by your Form 26AS.
That gives only to accrued interest and
Yes, sir. It will show only accrued interest. You can forget about paid interest received in your account.
accrued interest of that particular year.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Right. Okay. It shows only accrued interest of that particular year. Okay.
Yes, sir. For that particular year, at the end of 5 years, sir, when you are getting the entire amount deposited in your bank account, now you can go back and check how much has already been showed based on the 26AS forms.
Okay.
So deduct all that amount, only what was for that particular year, that alone you can show.
And so if I get 6,50,000 standard deduction for a pensioner and 50,000 on interest income.
Yeah, 50,000 on interest income under 80 TDB. On pension income, you have that 50,000 standard deduction. That is under section 16.
Yes. So 1 lakh I can get a reduction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, can you share a format, sir, of filing the returns?
1 second, sir.
No, later on you can send it to us, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And is there anybody who will guide us how to fill the forms also? Or you need an auditor, accountant and all that?
No, sir. If it is only pension income, if it is only interest income, it is very simple, sir. You can take
only
my number.
Interest and house income, sir. Only
Yes, sir.
interest and house income.
Yes, sir. It is very simple, sir. You can take my number. You can call me. Drop in sometime. I will tell you once, sir. It is very simple. Once if you can see and understand, every year you can file it on your own. If you have any doubts, you can always call me and get it filed, sir. Not an issue at all. At the most, if it is property income and interest income, it will take 2 minutes to file the return, sir.
That's what we want, sir. Sir, could you share your number, sir?
Yes, sir. I will put it in this Excel file itself.
Okay. Sir, what about wealth, sir?
Wait, let him tell number, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, wealth tax is no longer applicable. It has been removed. So you will not be bothered about wealth tax, sir. It was earlier there was 1.1% of wealth tax to be paid. Up to 15 lakhs, wealth is exempt. Any wealth more than 15 lakhs, there was 1.1% of tax on it. It will be a very meager amount, but that has been removed now. Wealth tax has been abolished, sir. Which was actually okay. I should not comment on a government policy. Now that wealth tax is no longer there, you need not be bothered about that, sir.
Okay.
Sir, someone was asking about capital gain, property sold.
Could you please share your number, sir?
The number I have already put in this WhatsApp, sir, in this Excel file.
Sir, Suresh Babu, sir, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, sir, okay? கொஞ்சம் டைம் பாத்துங்க சார் ரைட்
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, someone was asking about a doubt on capital gains, sale of property.
Capital gain on agricultural land.
Sir, capital gain on agricultural land is exempt, sir. It is not taxable, but you have to provide proof that it is agricultural land and agricultural activity is being carried on. Again, agricultural land also where it is located is one issue, sir. If it is located in an urban area, there are a lot of properties somewhere in Sholinganallur which has become an urban area and they are claiming that it is agricultural land. So those kinds of things the department will not accept, sir. I will give you one example, and if possible, with this we'll close, sir. Sir, suppose a person has bought a property of for 10 lakhs.
Excuse me, I was asking for, excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How about the ancestral property? Ancestral property, how I can claim?
Yeah, I'll
If I
show you,
sell.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll just show you. Sir, I'll finish this example and then we'll go back to that. Sir, suppose you have bought an agricultural land for 10 lakhs and you have been using it for suppose say 5 or 10 years. After 10 years, you are selling it for 20 lakhs. 20 lakhs, right, sir? So 20 lakhs is the sale price. Sale price is 20 lakhs and the cost price is 10 lakhs. But there is something called cost inflation index, the normal indexation influx where the prices goes up every year based on the cost inflation. This cost inflation index has been arrived at by the department. So it is called indexed cost of purchase. Indexed cost of purchase may be about 18 lakhs, sir, on the date of sale. So your capital gain will be 20 minus 18, which is 2 lakhs only, not 20 minus 10. I hope you understand this, sir. You have sold a agricultural land for 20 lakhs, sir, and the cost purchase was 10 lakhs. Sir. Whereas the indexed cost of purchase, as on date, whatever is the cost, on say 20 years back, it was 10 lakhs. Today's value will be 18 lakhs. So you have to subtract the sale price minus indexed cost of purchase. So the net capital gain will be only 2 lakhs, sir. You have to pay 20% on tax at 20% on this 2 lakhs, sir, which will amount to only 40%, right? 1/5, 40,000 rupees. Sir, this is how tax is computed. Sir, now imagine if it is going to be a property at Cholinganallur. You will be selling it for 1 crore, though the cost was only 10 lakhs and the index cost of purchase will be 18 lakhs. So your net profit will be about 82 lakhs, right, sir? Now this is where people get irritated. Array, why should I pay 20% on 82 lakhs, sir? But one thing you should assume, if it was only agricultural land and if it was on in a rural area, your cost appreciation would have been only 20 lakhs. You would have received only 20 lakhs as sale consideration. But if you are receiving a sale consideration as 100 lakhs, what does it mean, sir? It means that the area has become developed because of several other factors. That is why you are that land is fetching so much amount to you. Okay, right, sir? Or a property you have bought for 10 lakhs. Today, if it is selling for 1 crore, it means that lot of developmental activities have been taken place in that area. Government has brought in good roads. They would have developed a hospital. There may be a good school facility. There may be a metro station which has come up near that plot. Only because of these external factors, the price has gone up. So you cannot say that my property, it has become so much, why should I pay so much of taxes? It is only for because of government's initiative it has increased. So from that increased price, we are expecting a tax of 20%, sir, not on your cost price. What we are not asking you to pay taxes on the amount you have spent on buying that property. You need to understand this, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Urban area or rural area?
Yes, sir. Rural area, there is not going to be that much of appreciation, and rural area, if it is agricultural land, it is not taxable, sir. It is exempt from taxation fully.
Okay.
Right.
Sir,
one thing, sir, regarding ancestral property, sir.
Is there any income tax for gratuity and EPF which is paid?
Sir, gratuity, if you are receiving from government office, it is totally exempt. 100%.
No, this is a private institution.
Sir, private offices, private employers, there is some formula to work out how much is exempt, sir. The maximum amount which is exempt is about 10 lakhs, but again, there is one formula like 15 days salary for the number of completed years of average number of salary. There is a computation, there is a small formula.
What about EPF,
case,
sir?
You can send me the details, I'll show you the computation and send it back to you, sir.
What about EPF?
Sir, if it is recognized provident fund, it is fully exempt.
Yes, recognized. Fully
Then it is
exempt.
fully exempt. Sir. The maturity value
Hello,
is
sir.
fully exempt. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Suppose I am selling my ancestral property of agriculture,
Yes, sir.
agricultural land.
Yes, sir.
Suddenly, with that amount, I can purchase house.
Yes, sir.
I can purchase house.
You can purchase, sir. As far as agricultural land is concerned, only when you sell, you are getting income, sir. Your purchase is not income; it is expenditure.
No. That amount I can invest for a house.
You can always invest, sir. Investment is expenditure. We are not bothered about it.
No, I want to know
Yes,
whether
sir.
it's allowed to purchase land. Land
Yeah,
only.
definitely, sir. It is your money, sir. You have sold agriculture land. You have received 1 crore. That 1 crore is your money. Now, if it is urban land or rural land, non-agricultural land, you have to pay 20 lakhs on it. Balance 80 lakhs is your money. You are free to invest in anything, sir. The department does not have any right to question you.
Oh, thank you.
And if it is agricultural land, the entire 1 crore becomes your money because no tax is payable. Agricultural land is exempt from taxation. The entire 1 crore is your money and you are free to invest in anything.
Anything.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a very silly question.
Yes, sir.
I have been abroad for more than 31 years. And after coming back for the last 3 years, I've been working on contract basis with British Council.
Yes, sir.
And is there a provision for the first time income tax filers to do it for the last 3 years as it was there before, if I can understand correctly? Or I have to file every year on year?
No, sir. You have to file it every year.
So the previous year, whatever little income was there, that is tax deducted at source, I lose.
Yes, sir.
So I have to file right now. I think the last date is 31st of December for 2021. Sorry,
Exactly.
1920.
Exactly, sir. For financial year 2019-20,
Yes.
this is what you can file now.
Okay.
Last date is
31st of December.
12/2020. Right, sir.
And
Last
I
date
can,
is 1st
I
of
can only
December.
claim for the year 2019-20, not
Yes,
for the
sir.
previous years.
No, sir.
Okay, sir.
Sir, there is
Thank
one
you.
section called 139(1),
Okay.
which says that 31st July 2020 is the last date. Okay, this date has been extended because of Corona. Otherwise, this 31/12 would have been only 31/7. Right, sir?
Okay, sir.
There is another section 139(4), which says you can file a belated return. You can file a belated return before the end of the assessment year. Right, sir?
Okay.
Okay, this was earlier 1 year from the end of the relevant assessment year.
I see.
So 2 years back, if you had been asking this question, you could have filed return for 2 years. But that now that provision has been removed.
Okay.
Okay, that is one, sir. There is one more section called 119.
Yeah.
Okay. Sir, now you have not filed your return. You can ask for continuation of for delay in filing of return. You have to check who is your assessing officer. You have to go to the respective commissioner and file a letter saying that, sir, inadvertently I have missed out filing of return. I have been in the regular habit of filing of return all these years, but this was the only, these were the only 3 years when I had missed out to file. Kindly condone the delay in filing of return. The commissioner has all powers to condone your delay, sir, your omission. Before that, you will be checking with the assessing officer. You will be calling for a report from the assessing officer to check whether you are a correct assessee, you have been filing your returns all these years, whether you have been paying taxes all these years. Once the commissioner receives a good report, he will condone the delay. You can file the return even for 3 years, more than 3 years, 4, 5, 6 years also.
Oh, excellent.
You can do this one, sir. You can call me and check out how to file this 119(2)B, sir. I will guide you.
Thank you so much.
Sir. Sir?
Yes, sir.
I sold a property 3 years back.
Yes, sir.
And I deposited in the National Highway Authority bond.
Okay.
For 3 years.
Yes, sir.
Now they are going to refund the amount in the April.
Yes,
coming
sir.
April.
Yes, sir.
Whether I can utilize this amount for any other purpose. Otherwise,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Once that period is over, whatever amount you have got received is your money.
Yes.
it is equivalent to have been tax paid money. So it is proper white money which you can use for any purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
One more doubt regarding retirement.
Yes, sir.
Retirement benefit exemption. For regular retirement benefit exemption and VRS, what is the difference?
Sir, regular, have you retired from government service, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, as far as government servants are concerned, all retirement benefits are tax-free. Nothing is taxable. For private employees, there is certain limit in exemption of gratuity, certain limited in exemption of commuted pension, uncommuted pension. Then there is certain limit in claim of leave encashment. Okay. In all retirement benefits, there is some limit, sir. But if it is a government servant, everything is exempt. Now, as far as VRS is concerned, again, if it is a government service, the entire amount is exempt, sir. Whereas for people in private service, there are certain restrictions. There are some conditions also saying that those vacancies will not be refilled. And there is a maximum limit of 5 lakhs also, sir, on that. It depends on the terms of agreement. The employer should have already taken an approval from the income tax department regarding issue of this scheme, sir. Based on that, there is a limitation in exemption. The entire amount does not become exempt.
I was told for government employees of their taking VRS, the full amount is not exempt. I'm not sure.
Yes, sir. It depends on the terms of employment, sir. This was about 4 or 5 years back. Now, recently there have not been much of VRS schemes, sir. Earlier, when VRS scheme was there, they had a limit of 5 lakhs. Up to 5 lakhs on VRS was exempt. Balance was taxable.
No. I'm not asking about VRS schemes. I am taking VRS on health grounds.
On health grounds, the entire amount is exempt, sir. There is no restriction on. You are talking about VRS compensation.
VRS is not compensation. We have taken VRS because of the health problem. My wife has taken VRS because of health problem.
Right, sir. You are taking VRS on health grounds, sir. What are the benefits you are receiving? If it is going to be only gratuity, commuted pension, leave encashment, and PF.
Everything.
All these items are fully exempt. It is not taxable. Apart from this, if you are going to get some VRS compensation, then that amount is taxable to a certain extent.
This is there for a long time because she retired in 2012.
Okay, sir.
She took VRS in 2012, but we have paid tax for the amount.
No, then they would have deducted, sir. The employer himself had deducted TDS, right?
They have deducted the amount, but
yes,
we didn't get the refund.
For 2012, is it? I need to check it up, sir, because every year there has been a change in this. It depends on the government policy of that particular year. I can check and get back to you, sir, if you can send me your details of what.
Sir,
I will send all the details.
Sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir, because we are already running out of time. 12:35, it's over. Because link will be in 12:30 only we set it out, sir. That's why.
Sir, I would just mention one more thing, sir.
Yes,
sir,
sir.
Please give my number to all these people.
Yes,
any issues in filing of returns, any other doubts, you can always call me, sir. Kindly take my number. Even this VRS issue also, you can take my number and call me later on, sir. I can clarify your.
I will call you.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you for your cooperation, sir. Thank you for wonderful session, sir. 1.5 hours we are went on so well, sir. So many people will clarify all the doubts, sir, actually. So we are disturbing you, sir. So one more session for next month also. So thank you, sir. Thank you for your.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Gopalakrishnan, sir.
Suresh Babu, thank you very much.
Sir, Gopalakrishnan, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr.
இல்ல சார்
Suresh
நான்
Babu.
தான் தேங்க்ஸ் சொல்லணும் சார் சார் முதுகிருஷ்ணன் சார் கோபாலகிருஷ்ணன் நான் தான் உங்களுக்கு தேங்க்ஸ் பண்ணணும் நல்ல ப்ரோக்ராம் சார் இது.
Thank you, sir. Jagma, sir, if you want to speak to 5 minutes or 1 minute.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, speaking.
Excellent session, sir.
Sir, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Sir, Mr. Suresh Obu, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Based on our request, you came and clarify all the details of the senior citizens. And I hope that they will be clarified everything, and they are also very happy. Happy to on your explanation. இப்ப எல்லாரும் வந்து எங்களுடைய பேஸ்ட் ஆன் த ரிக்வஸ்ட் நீங்க எல்லாருமே அட்டென்ட் பண்ணி நீங்க பார்ட்டிசிபேட் பண்ணது இட் இஸ் எ வெரி கிரேட் மோட்டிவேஷன் டு அஸ். ஸோ அப்பதான் நாங்க அந்த சுரேஷ் பாபு சார் மாதிரி நல்ல ஸ்பீக்கர்ஸை நாங்க இன்வைட் பண்ணி உங்கள்கிட்ட பேச வைக்கிறதுக்கு எங்களுக்கு ஒரு மோட்டிவேஷனாக இருக்கும். ஸோ பார்ட்டிசிபேட் பண்ணி உங்களுடைய டவுட்ஸ் எல்லாம் நீங்கள் கிளாரிஃபை பண்ணிக்கிட்டீங்க. அதற்கு அவரும் சாரும் வந்து ஜஸ்ட் ஐ கேம் பிஃபோர் 15 minutes. அவர் சாரும் வந்து உங்களுக்கு எல்லாத்தையும் பொறுமையாக, அதாவது உங்களுக்கு புரிந்து கொள்ளக்கூடிய முறையில் வந்து ஒரே கொஸ்டின்ஸ் நீங்கள் 2 தடவை கேட்டால் கூட அவர் அதை ரொம்ப உங்களுடைய உங்களுடைய எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ணுறீங்களோ எக்ஸ்பெக்டேஷனுக்கு லெவலில் அவர் அதை கிளாரிஃபை பண்ணியிருக்காரு. முதல்ல அவருக்கு தேங்க் பண்ணிட்டு உங்களுடைய டைமை ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணி எங்களோட பார்ட்டிசிபேட் பண்ண ஆல் பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ்க்கு ஆன் பிகாப் ஆஃப் ஹெல்பேஜ் இந்தியா ஐ தேங்க்யூ ஆல். தேங்க்யூ வெரி மச் சார். தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச்.
Thank you, Shivakumar sir. Gopalakrishnan, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next meeting, sir.
Thank
you, sir. We will wind up this session, sir. Next meeting, we will inform you, sir.
Mudishan, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Suresh Babu, sir. Thank you.
சார் அவரோட நம்பர் கொஞ்சம் ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க.
அனுப்புறேன் சார். குரூப்ல அனுப்புறேன் சார். உங்களுக்கு நம்பர் ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க சார். சரி. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
இமெயில் அனுப்பிடுங்க. அப்படியே இமெயில் அனுப்பிடுங்க.
கண்டிப்பா. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you, sir. Vincent, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, I was not in the group. Somebody sent me this connection. So, will you also include me in the group?
Sir, உங்க நம்பர் சொல்லுங்க சார்.
99800.
Sir,
9800.
800.
52.
Okay, sir.
856.
856. Your name, sir?
I am from Mangalore, Rajendra Pejawar.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sure, sir. We will include, sir.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Most welcome. Bye.
When is the next meeting?
உங்களுக்கு இன்ஃபார்ம் பண்றோம் சார். We have different topics this month, sir. அதனால we were searching speakers, sir. So
basic computers இருந்தாலும் சொல்லுங்களேன்.
கண்டிப்பா சார். Exactly.
Even accountancy also.
கண்டிப்பா சார். Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.